So I just had an interesting epiphany. And it's one, you can just put your cigar stubs in a pipe and finish them off there. But it's about the Yakwood series. Now, this is something I've been working on for years, this whole concept. It really is my own invention. You're not going to really see this anywhere. And, so it's unique in many ways. And how do you improve on something that I'm going to be working on it for many years, and I'm going to be continuing to perfect this design. And so I love the benefits of a single bevel. I love how sharp they are. And of course, one thing I noticed today is that I can reduce the width of the uraoshi, this exposed metal here. I can actually just grind away from the entire perimeter down to where it's basically barely a millimeter thick. And that's actually going to greatly improve the sharpenability of this concept. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I've made like 20 or so of these. But that's something I want to try on the next version, on the next one of these, to reduce the entire width of the perimeter of this profile, because that's appealing to many people. Again, this is not a Yanagiba, this is not a Yakwood, this is a Yei cut. And it's my own concept. You're not going to find this anywhere. It's very difficult to learn how to forge these. It's unique in many ways, and that means that there's really nothing to compare it to. And in that sense, that like it's quite difficult to improve on this design. It's quite difficult to actually figure out what I can do to make it better if it's not really an existing system yet. And having this, in Japan, for example, with the Yanagibas. Now, this is not a Yanagiba, so why should we even compare the two? But over there, with Yanagibas, this entire section is very polished out, right? And the width from the edge to, like, the width of this uraoshi, I don't actually remember what the real name is, but the width of where the exposed metal is very, very narrow. And that's to make it much easier to sharpen the knife. Now, the thing is, over a 5, 6, 7 year period, if you know anybody that uses Yanagibas, if you know anybody that sharpens those kind of knives or makes them, I've made a bunch like that, similar Yanagibas. What was I going to say? You'll see that over time, it basically, they wash away the entire circumference, and they just put micro bevels. Like, you'll notice it's actually a lot of guys, they don't bother even properly sharpening the Yanagibas. They just, or petty Yanagibas and stuff like that, a lot of them just end up putting a little micro bevel on there. And but the next step to improve this design is actually going to be to basically go through the grinding process, but actually also remove like 0.5 centimeter from the entire circumference in order to reduce the length or the width of the exposed metal region on this side. So I'm not going to be able to do that for a week or two. I'm not quite sure yet what my schedule is like. I have a lot of custom orders to do. But that's the thing, like I was saying, it's better to work smart than to work hard. I could have made 10, 15, 20 of these and stuck with this whole the way it is now. And it's in the break times, it's in the thinking times between all the things that you're doing where you're actually thinking of how to improve the design. And one of the next things I'm going to do is actually, just like I said, reduce the width of that region substantially. And it's an interesting thing to think about. I don't know why it never crossed my mind before, because it's a very easy thing to do. It's a very easy thing to do. It's already part of the manufacturing process to grind around the entire circumference. So I'm not really adding any extra labor to the process. And it will substantially increase the sort of perceived quality or perceived value or the craftsmanship of the entire product. So many of people own these and they love them. I don't have any criticism over the whole Yakwood concept. And again, like, it's pretty new. There's only like 20, 30, something like that, of these kind of knives around the world right now being used. So, it's it's only going to get better the more I make. And that's really like the key thing here, to think about. So actually, I think I might actually keep this one. I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to keep this one, and use it as a reference, for increasing, of course, just for what I've been talking about in this video. It's an interesting thought, and I don't know why I never thought about it before, because it's such an easy thing to actually do. And the top here doesn't really need that much material removed. It's mostly really what's behind the edge. But yeah, I think it'll be much more appealing to experienced knife users and stuff like that. The way it is now, it's not a difficult knife to sharpen. I mean, if you've sharpened a Poco with Scandi grinds, there's less metal here than there is on a small Scandi grind, like even a Mora, I think, has roughly maybe the same Scandi grind height. So you're really not, there's no, you're not going to be challenged here in any way, especially if you have the right stones, these low grit stones and stuff like that. So interesting thought, and I'll be keeping you guys updated, of course, but I'm not sure exactly when will be the next time I make another one of these, at least in the short term, because I have a lot of other things to do. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for all the likes and the views and all the positive remarks that I get from my work. It really means a lot to me. So one step at a time, one knife at a time, and a lot of thinking in between, and a lot of discussion in between, and a lot of research in between each one of those knives. And that's how we move forwards with concepts and designs and new ideas. And yeah, I'm really in love with this whole concept. I just can't stop thinking about it. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So again, this is not a Yanagiba, this is not a Yakwood, so there's no reason why I should or be forced to, do Yakwood or Yanagiba. I'm not a dogmatic person. I don't fall into dogmatic ideas, especially in the knife making world. You see that a lot. Oh, you got to do something a specific way. Oh, it's not like this. Oh, it's not like... But these people, when they say these kind of things or these type of criticisms, they don't realize that all the knives that they're using as a reference, or all these things that they're talking about, they were once ideas too. They were once brand new ideas. They were once new inventions. Somebody invented those. And it probably took more than a lifetime, beyond the original inventor's life, before the whole concept was even perfected. So, it could have taken, 80, 90 years to perfect the Yanagiba to what we see today, and how to make it, and the way it's done. So, it's the nature of artisan work, it's the nature of prototyping, it's the nature of design, and it's the nature of evolution, really, to move forwards one step at a time, and to improve where things need improving, and to not overcomplicate things, and to stay with what works, Stay with what works, and just make small little adjustments, and spend a lot of time thinking, and don't overwork yourself. That's the thing. Like, you don't need to work hard. You can work smart. Working smart means you take your time a little bit, and you do a lot of thinking. You don't just pound through all that metal over an entire weekend and then get as much stuff done as quickly as possible, only to realize, hey, I could have actually done that to all of them. I could have done this small improvement on all of them. So that's one of the things I'd like to teach on my channel, is like, being careful with trying to get too much work done, because that's one thing knife makers do. Oh, I have a brilliant idea. They make 1,000, they make, a few hundred, they make 50 or whatever of an idea they have. Then 5-6 years go by, and they're like, wow, I could have really thought this better, and I put a lot of work into that design, but I could have actually just added this little thing there. Or I could have done this slightly differently, and it would have been way better. So it's very important to just do a couple at a time. Don't, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, whatever. And you'll get there, and eventually you're going to get better and better and better at everything you're doing. And it's going to be way better in the long run to work smart rather than hard. Because eventually what happens with working smart instead of hard is that you'll save a lot of time. You'll save a lot of raw materials. That's one thing. Like a lot of beginner knife makers, they get all these expensive materials, these walrus bones or whatever, these mammoth tusks for their handles. They make a pretty scrappy looking kitchen knife with a walrus or teeth handle or whatever, or mammoth tusk handle, and it's, several years go by and they're like, yeah, that was a pretty expensive piece of material that I just sort of could have used on a much nicer knife, or something like that. I've made that mistake 100+ times. It's just the nature of how things work. So it's very important to take your time and think and be rational, and not to overdo things, and to spend a lot of time thinking between each stage, between each knife that you produce, whether it's production or whatever. It's the same with the scalpels. If I make 100 in one go, that's not the right way to do it. I make 20 here and there. I wait and I look at them and I think about it. I make 20 more, and each time there's some small improvement somewhere on how to grind the blade, how to do the sheaths, and what to add to the product and things like that. Like pocket clips, something simple like that. Oh, maybe this needs a belt clip. Maybe this needs a pocket clip. Maybe this doesn't need the rivet lock. Like a kitchen knife doesn't need a rivet lock. You're not going to be... But anyway, so I hope, I don't know, just an interesting video. And I hope you guys have a lovely evening, and I'll see you guys another time.